Recording is in progress. Y'all ready? So we're going to talk about some of my favorite things. Um, we're going to talk about some of my favorite things today in real estate, which is deeds and wills and trusts and investing, how to invest with no money. That's my favorite part. How to invest with other people's money. That's my favorite. It's kind of my thing. I'm so excited about it. So, did you can you give me sharing ability? Screen share.
There you are.
Here, what I got going on. Thank you. Now, go back to this. Me having to push present. Okay. Present. Shit. I'll go back to the beginning, Marquita. There we go. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Um, Screen share on Chrome. There we go. Got it. I got it today, y'all. Third week is the charm. I got it today. I got it today. Okay. Present. There we go. Everybody can see my screen. Say yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. So we're going to talk about just to recap a little bit of what we talked about the last 2 weeks. We're on our third week. We talked about credit and where it came from and why credit was never invented for Black people. Why credit was never here to serve us. How credit is not that old. Credit is only, I'm older than credit and I'm not that old. So that will tell you guys a lot, everything you need to know. How credit was invented and how it transformed, how Black veterans did not have access to the VA loans and things like that when they first came home from war, and how it was set up, and it's always been set up to be used against us, and how we all forgave ourselves for what we did not know and what our families were not able to teach us and what our parents and grandparents were not able to teach us, because we came from a group of people who had to learn how to survive for generations and generations to come. And I believe that we are the first generation that's coming out that is actually able to learn how to live. And we have all the thanks to give to the generations before us who learned how to survive. So that's what we talked about the last 2 weeks. We talked about credit, and all the ways that we can build credit and impact it and things like that. And then last week, we talked a little bit about investing, but this week we're going to go really, really into it. And I'm really, really excited because I have someone here to tell you all about, and I'm going to hop to hers first, and then we're going to come back to the other stuff. But I wanted you all to learn about wills and trusts. Um, I have just hold on. Some of you are not familiar with me. For those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Marquetta. Hi, how are you? I am a mother. I homeschool my children. So they are the most important things to me, even though I'm becoming like less important to them because they're almost teenagers. Well, a teenager and then another teenager. That's cool. I'm here for it. I'm a mortgage loan officer and a real estate broker. I'm a wealth advocate. I believe in generational wealth being transferred back to us because it is our birthright. And, we should have it. I believe in I'm a financial educator and a cycle breaking mama. I am a Black girl from Southeast DC whose mother was a teenage mother. And I believe that I have broken more generational curses in my family than most. I am very proud of myself for that. My children live a very, very, very different life than I did. And that is my biggest flex. I'm family first and freedom focused. I believe that we're not free until we're all free. So if my kids are free, everybody else's kids should be as free as well to make decisions and to learn things about that. So that's just a little bit about who I am for those of you who are unfamiliar with me. With that said, we're going to jump to Miss Tracy. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because I want her to talk to you all about wills and trusts. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I wanted her to talk about that. Before I started real estate, when I was 19 in DC, I made pretty decent money for my age. And I worked at the largest pension firm, the largest union in the country, and the largest pension fund in the country at the time. And this was pre-crash, so when people still had pensions, okay? But what I learned, and I worked death benefits for a time when I first got there. And what I learned is that people called and screamed and hollered and fought with each other. And it was nasty because somebody didn't leave a will, or somebody was a beneficiary here, or this wasn't probated there, or nobody talked about. I didn't even know what probate was. Y'all. I had never heard of the word until I got to that job. I'm 19. I didn't even know what a realtor was until I was 23. So that just tells you that we didn't learn anything about any of this stuff because my family didn't have assets. My family didn't know anything about it. So a lot of us don't know. A lot of us say, hey, make sure you get a will, or make sure you get this and make sure you get that. Well, we're going to have Miss Tracy here, who is a lawyer, and she'll introduce herself and tell you a lot more about herself. And she is very capable of doing that. So I'm going to be quiet. But wills and trusts is so important to me, and she's going to tell y'all why. Okay? All right.
Hello, everybody. And Marquetta, thank you for inviting me to this. I am, as she said, I'm Tracy O'Neill Ellis, and I'm an attorney, and I'm located here in the greater metropolitan Atlanta area. I'm in Marietta, for those of you who are, you're all in here in Atlanta. And I'm licensed here in Georgia, and I'm also licensed in Illinois. So I do estate planning here and Illinois and other states where I have co-counsel. But one of the reasons that I'm really interested in estate planning and wanted to, because I've been a lawyer a long time and I've done a lot of other areas of law, corporate and other things, but I'm really, really focused about 100% now on estate planning because, particularly in our community, and the majority of my clients are Black folks or BIPOC, but in our community, we don't believe we have wealth. And if I had a dollar for wealth that we need to protect in any special way, and if I had a dollar, heck, 50 cents for every time somebody was like, no, I don't need a estate plan, I don't have anything to protect or whatever, that is the biggest myth that I am all about busting myths. And that is one of the biggest ones. And oh my gosh, Ambrielle, hey, I didn't expect to know anybody on here other than Marquetta. Sorry to call you out, but I see someone I know. I didn't, I want to bust that myth because estate planning is not for millionaires. Estate planning is for people who are serious about organizing their legacy and passing that organized legacy on. And I use the word legacy a lot because our legacy has been stripped from us. Our wealth was stripped from us. You all know our history and background in this country. We built this country, and as a result of being enslaved and not being paid for our labor, so much of our wealth has been taken. So much of the land that we owned, my grandfather's grandfather. So yeah, I get confused on the great great greats, but I think that's my fourth great grandfather. But anyway, my grandfathers on my father's side, um, is there, you know what, that might be on my side. I'm sorry, there are kids in my house and they are being noisy. And so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move because it'll be easier for me to move than telling all the kids to disperse. But if I can keep going while I'm moving, that um, I will get out of my office and go back in my room. Um, so much, what I was saying is that my grandfather's grandfather on my dad's side had 100 acres in Mississippi that was, and he had a little house on that. Is that better now? I think I don't even hear the noise now, so I think that's better. So thank you for pointing that out. Um, and he was sharecropping and got in debt. And to pay that debt off, he was sharecropping to a white man, borrowing money from that white man. And to pay it off, he had to give up his land, or so he thought. And that was the way it was then. And so he did. He gave up the land. And um, that 100 acres, if you go to Macomb, Mississippi now, is this beautiful country club of 100 rolling acres. There's a country club on it. But if you go out, I don't know how many acres out it is, I've forgotten now, but I showed up in Mississippi at that country club, and very quickly somebody came around on the golf cart and was like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my, grandfather's grandfather used to own this land, and there's a well here." And he was like, "By golly, how'd you know that?" And I said, "Well, because I have seen a picture of it." And so my cousins and I jumped on his golf cart, and he took us out to the well, which is how I knew like we're on the right land. But at any rate, this guy says it's been in his family for several generations now. And so they're building wealth off of something that I perceive was stolen from our family. So for $100 worth of debt, we lost 100 acres of beautiful rolling hills. At any rate, that story is repeated over and over and over again. And what I am trying to teach folks today is we don't want to lose any more than what has already been lost. Whatever we have and whatever we continue to build in our lifetimes, we want to make sure that that is, I'm going to pull this up, we want to make sure that that is passed on in an orderly way, and that our children and our children's children can inherit that and continue to build upon that legacy. So there are three ways to pass on your legacy. One is you can do nothing. If you do nothing, the state has a plan for you. Okay. And so every state has their own, it's called intestate succession. So if you do nothing, the state will have a plan for you, and the state will determine how everything goes down, regardless of what your wishes may have been, regardless of what your family wants, regardless of what's best for your family. This every state statute will determine. So Georgia has an intestate succession plan, and it will determine how your assets, your wealth, your legacy. Yes, Pearl, we have lost so much land. But the state's plan will determine that, and you won't have a say in it, and your family won't have a say in it. Okay. You can, oh, I'm loving these. I'm sorry for these comments, quite frankly, but I'm loving that y'all are dropping comments in there, and Disney did it to your great great grandfather. So, but if you, the next thing is, other than doing nothing, is you could create a will. And there, I've seen lots of events around Atlanta and in Chicago. I've seen some in a lot of the large cities. There are efforts around, especially to get to Black women, because a lot of times we, make a lot of decisions in our families. But to get to Black women and their will creation events. And so you show up with your laptop, and whoever's leading it helps you craft a will. I think they're using either wills and trusts or .com or LegalZoom or something. So you download it, and everybody leaves with their will. There's some notaries there. So a will is a little bit better than doing nothing, because at least it isn't the state's default plan. So you can say, I want my daughter to have this, my husband gets everything, or I want my daughter to have this and my son to have that and my niece to have this, that, or the other. But you still have to go through probate court. And a lot of people, one of the things that I try to tell clients is, hey, my goal is to keep you out of probate and out of conflict. That doesn't always resonate with Black folks, because we ain't scared of court or conflict. So, but when I explain why it's good to stay out of probate court, people become more interested in hearing what I'm talking about. One, probate court costs money. It is not free. So besides the probate fees, you need a probate attorney. And a lot of family members try to do it on their own and, mess it all up because it's not an easy process. And therefore, they end up hiring a probate attorney. So the probate attorney gets paid. There's a probate administrator. Oftentimes, the probate attorney is trying to marshal, they call it marshaling the assets. And trying to, right, exactly, Ebony. Trying to marshal the assets and find them and locate heirs, because just because you are Big Mama's, you know, or your daddy's kids that he raised or whatever, but there's some other kids out there somewhere else, they got to find those heirs too. And they get notified. There's no, all the heirs, all legal heirs get notified before anything happens. So a lot of times finding all the heirs, getting addresses, and sending them out, notifying them that a probate has been filed, notifying them that they may be entitled to some assets. So then, folks get involved and they want their share, right? Well, that takes time. It's not that it's a wrong process, but it costs money and it takes time. So those are the first two things. On average, every county is different, but what I know is probate costs, depending on the county you're in, run anywhere from about 2.5% to 5% of the value of your estate. That's everything that you've left. Okay. Also, it can take anywhere from a good probate process would take 6 months. Doesn't mean it's not good, but again, depending on the county, depending on how many heirs there are and whatnot, and how many creditors. I'll step back and come back to creditors in a minute. It can take up to 18, 19, 20 months, 2 years. Okay. Let me talk about creditors. The way I also talk about probate is like a lawsuit that your estate files against you for the benefit of your creditors. I mean, if we really get down and honest, probate's really not about getting assets to your loved ones. Probate is about putting your creditors on notice that, hey, creditors, Tracy Ellis has opened up an estate. All credit card companies, car finance company, whoever, lender, whatever, mortgage companies, Tracy's opened up probate, line up, file your claim, and creditors get paid first because it is a public process and creditors are going to get paid first. And if there's not enough to pay creditors, then they'll pay creditors on a pro rata share based on, this is the total value of the estate that we can liquidate and turn to cash. And this is the amount that you get per creditor because there's not enough to make all creditors whole. Well, if there's not enough to make all creditors whole and they pro rata distribute to the creditors, there's nothing left because the creditors didn't even get made whole. There's nothing left to give to your family, especially after the probate attorney gets paid and the fees and administrator and whatnot. So it's a very public process. It costs money from your estate that doesn't go to your loved ones. It takes time. Creditors are notified and anybody else that wants to know. So anybody who wants to know, if I don't have if my estate plan is just a will, then when I die, anyone who wants to know what's going on in my estate can look online. It's all there because it's public. And that's how you get to see some folks' wills, some famous folks' wills, right? Because it's a public process. Okay, so that's that. So we've got a choice of doing nothing. We have a choice of doing probate and your family spending the money out of your estate and taking the time that it takes, and creditors getting first dibs on everything. The next choice is a trust. And now what's the difference between a will and a trust? Well, a trust also says where you want to leave everything. But when you have a trust, it is a private process. There is no, you don't go to court. Everybody who dies, you're supposed to file their will with the county, but that's just, the trust has a will too, but it's called a pour over will. And all it says is anything I died and didn't put in the trust, it pours over into there. So there's nothing really in the will that you file when you have a trust that has any details in it of who gets what and all of that. So the will guarantees you're going to probate, and it is a public process. It is like a lawsuit that your estate files against you for the benefit of creditors. A trust is a private process that has a trustee in charge of it, like a will has an executor named. And if you don't name an executor, oh, this is the other thing about a will. You can name an executor, but if that executor cannot, if your will doesn't state that they don't have to put up a bond, and if the court orders that they have to put up a bond, but they're not credit worthy, so they can't get a bond, um, because they've got a bad credit score, then they won't become your executor. The court will appoint someone, and more than likely, they will appoint a professional executor of your will, and that's a paid position, by the way. So that comes out of your estate as well. So a trust is a private process. It has a private trustee. The trustee does not have to post bond if you don't require it in the trust agreement. No one can tell what your assets are, who's getting what. Your creditors don't know. They can, I mean, your creditors don't know. They'll be searching when they start making collection calls because the credit card bills haven't been paid, and someone's like, "Oh, Tracy died." Then they're gonna ask, "Was a probate opened? Is there an estate opened?" No, there's not. Well, they're going to look, they're going to search, they're going to find out and see for themselves. Okay. But unless something fraudulent has gone on, they can sue if they think something fraudulent has gone on. Unless they have, some suspicion that something fraudulent has gone on, like you ran up $10,000 in credit cards and then died 3 weeks later or 30 days later, that could be deemed to be found to be fraudulent. And so then the creditors can file a lawsuit in court against the trust to try and pierce that trust, and et cetera, et cetera. So there are some exceptions to the privacy if you've done something kind of funky. But generally speaking, your trust process is your estate settled privately in the manner that you want to by the trustee. Okay. There are also, a trust gives you many options so that if you say, well, I want to leave this money to my kids 50-50. I have two kids. So let's just say I want to leave it to them 50-50. But I don't trust my older son's girlfriend or my younger son's wife or my older son's wife or younger, whatever your situation is. They mess around and get a divorce. She's going to come for this. She's going to, try to come for this money, and I want to protect it. So then we can do an asset protection trust that protects his portion of what's in the trust, provided that he has handled the trust appropriately, and we would teach him that or her that, so that a spouse, a divorcing spouse or ex-spouse, cannot have access to that money because you've left it for your children. So the trust provides all kinds of, not just your regular run-of-the-mill trust. There are different types of trust, and one of them is an asset. I call it a lifetime asset protection trust. Other lawyers call it different things, but another scenario is you remarry and you love your new spouse, but if you die and he remarries, you don't want her to get your stuff because you got kids over here. So we can play with trust to meet the needs that you're trying to meet for your benefit, for the benefit of your children, and possibly your new spouse as well. You're leaving something, but you don't want to accidentally disinherit your own kids. So particularly in subsequent marriages and second and third marriages where there are both parties have children, it is very easy to accidentally disinherit your kids, and you mess around and leave everything to the spouse. And so you want to avoid that, and we have ways using trust that we can do that. So you have more options, I'll say, with the trust. That's how I'm going to say it right now. And I want to look at these in the chat. I'm actually helping a friend. He was offered a low amount for his heir property. It's worth $10. It's been in the family 100 years. I think they're trying to take it. Yeah, that's really great, and needs to lawyer up, because if they can take it, they will. I assume, Tisha, that he's in probate court. or something. Creditors are trying to take it. And yes, Marquita, right. Nothing you leave will leave
I
your
was I was
nothing you
over
have
here
will leave
shouting because
your
I was
family.
like, listen, let me tell y'all one thing about me. I got a son, and my son, like, I know who the men in my family are, okay? And I said, hey, I want to make sure that if they not blood related to me, they don't get nothing. So my trust says if you are not blood related, and everybody got to take a paternity test, because we're not gonna play them games over here, okay? It didn't come out of my daughter, and the paternity test needs to happen, right? Because assets are to remain in my family. And then we also have, I know you can talk about this. We also have where our main house is not to be sold for a certain amount of years because we want it to be a place where our kids can always come to and have if they need to.
Yes, there's so many things that you can do. And it's not that you couldn't say that in a will. It's just that whether or not that happens depends on what your creditors leave you. Leave your children or your heirs, could be your nieces if you don't have kids, could be your siblings or whatever. Um, the developer in town's trying to get it. Yeah, it's worth a lot of money. Exactly. Um, that is, our one of the legacies we've had is heirs property, stolen land, um, and land that is the heirs property is when it's not titled. Um, there's some heirs property in Mississippi that I only learned about in 2019, and um, through my father's side of the family, um, my father's mother's side, so my maternal grandmother, there's a good possibility that, me, my siblings, my cousins, that we own some of that acreage, but trying to prove it now, it's all out, it's being farmed by squatters who've been paying the property taxes and passed it down, created generational wealth for these white folks who are squatting on the land, growing corn and tobacco, and has passed generationally down through the generations. And we're investigating, but it's going to be really, really hard because it wasn't properly passed by via deed. And when the last person died that was living on that land, um, nobody knew. I only learned about it in 2019. She died in 1970 something. So squatters been squatting for decades. But anyway, um, so the issue about so that there's asset protection in the trust that doesn't come along, that we can put in the trust. It doesn't automatically happen. You have to draft an asset protection trust. And let me tell you something about that, because a lot of times I find that white people are more willing to do an asset protection trust than we are, because it is an irrevocable trust. And what that means is you put the assets in there, and you, in a basic trust, a revocable trust, you are the trustee while you're living, and then someone else becomes the trustee when you die, or become incapacitated. And but you still own the whatever's in the trust. And you can take it out, substitute something else, pull it out and never put it back in. You can close the trust. You can do whatever you want because you really still own the assets. In an irrevocable trust, some people, you will hear it called irrevocable, depends on where they put the emphasis at, but I think irrevocable is right. But in an irrevocable or irrevocable trust, um, you no longer own the assets. And you have a separate independent trustee who, like all trustees, is managing it for the benefit of the trust and the heirs, beneficiaries of the trust, and the has a fiduciary duty to not misuse the assets or to invest them in ways that cause it to grow, or at least not lose money if that's possible. But anyway, you have a fiduciary duty to manage the assets well. But in an irrevocable trust, you really are giving up the ownership of it, but white people are okay with that because they understand that they're leaving it for their kids when their kids die. And it may stay in that trust or it may pass to the kids in another asset protected trust that protects them from their kids' creditors, their ex-spouses, baby mamas, baby daddies. I mean, whoever. It can really protect the tighter you make the trust, the more that it can protect. So those are, I'm going to stop talking, and that's high level, the differences between a trust and a will, and the things that happen with the will that don't happen with the trust, and things that happen with the trust that you can't do with a will. But if you have any questions, because I want to be respectful of my time and leave you all to take this where you want it to go, and make sure that I answer questions that you all have, if any.
I got a question.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I mean, it's daunting to think about what, we have lost and probably will continue to lose unless we do something about it.
Yeah.
But I had a question. If you own assets in Georgia and you own assets in, say, Mississippi, do you have to get separate trusts for both of those, or can it all be in one trust?
It can be in one trust, and we would just
Okay.
handle the Mississippi property. Here's one piece I really thank you for your question, Pearl, because it brings this up. I
Uh-huh.
can create a trust all day long, but if you don't fund the trust,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to probate court when you die. So funding the trust means you have to actually put the assets in the trust. So if you think of a trust as here, my phone is sitting here. If you think of my phone here as the trust, here's the box.
Mm-hmm.
This is called the trust. And what do I have here? I don't know, some essential lavender essential oil spray. This is your house. Okay. I create the trust, but then we have to put the house in the trust. We have to put the bank accounts in the trust. If the trust doesn't have anything in it, then you're going to probate court. It has to be funded. I talked about a pour over will, that when you die, if anything's not in the trust, then if you die, anything's not in the trust, the pour over will says it pours over. It doesn't pour over if the trust was never funded, though. That's not intended to be the funding mechanism. It's intended that, oh my gosh, we went and bought a condo in Mississippi as our summer home or whatever, and forgot to or didn't get it retitled into the trust or before I died. It can pour over into the trust, but the trust has to be funded. So you don't need two trusts in the case that you've got land in two places, but we would need a Mississippi deed transferring so I'm not licensed in Mississippi. So for example, I would co-counsel with a Mississippi attorney to draft the Mississippi deed, make sure it got filed right in the county that it's in, that transfers that property into the Pearl Farland Massey Family Trust.
Then when you say fund a trust, now the asset has to go in there after everything is set up, say with you, um, say I was the trustee, am I responsible for, I guess, getting the necessary paperwork done to get the asset over into the, I guess, to fund it? Or would
Oh,
all that take place when you're setting it up with you?
so clients have a couple of choices. One, I typically always do the real estate. That just
Uh-huh.
comes along with my fee. I do the real estate, and I'll make sure any real estate gets transferred. Your
Uh-huh.
bank accounts, you don't have to do cars, and I definitely recommend that you not do cars and boats and stuff, because they're so easy to pass after you
Okay.
die that,
Okay.
and sometimes states don't, they see it in a trust and they don't know it's just easy. All you got to do is take the death certificate and the title to the car, and they'll change it. So
Uh-huh.
cars, boats don't go into the trust, and that's fine. They don't have to
Uh-huh.
go to probate. But um if you wanted me, if a client wants me to do all the funding of bank accounts, of everything, I'll do that. That's an additional fee. But if the client is willing to do it on their own, I give them detailed instructions, and the letter is literally written to the bank. So you say, well, I bank at Chase Bank, then I would have a letter to Chase Bank on you for you to sign that tells them specifically what the instructions on what you need. You need your bank account changed into this name or that name. Or you also could make it payable on death. Because some banks will say, well, we have to close this account and open a new one. And you're like me, I got all kinds of auto debits coming out, and I'm like, don't close that account. So I probably then would do a payable on death to the trust. So then it'll automatically, upon your death, then your trustee could walk in with the death certificate and the trust, and the bank would cut a check so that it could be deposited into the trust account. The other thing that you don't put in the trust, you do not redo your retirement accounts. There's some concern that if you take your 401k or your 403b or your IRA and you transfer that and make the beneficiary the trust, then that the IRS might deem that a transfer, and it triggers taxes. You know, if you dig into your 403b or 401k, you got to pay 20% right up front, then you got to claim it on your income. So you don't want it to be the primary. You don't want the trust to be the primary beneficiary. Okay. You want the trust to be a contingent beneficiary. So it can go directly to your heirs, that's fine. But if your heirs are the people that you want to receive it, if they're no longer alive, it can be a contingent beneficiary. But we would not put retirement accounts as a primary. We would not make the trust the primary beneficiary of a retirement account. Life insurance can go directly into the trust as long as you don't have a tax problem. And the tax problem is if you, right now, the estate tax, you're taxed on assets that at 40% if your estate is worth more than $13.99 million. So I haven't had any clients, because that would be a fat fee for me if I had to do that type of tax planning, but I have not had any clients that had to worry about that, because they have not had essentially $14 million in assets. But if you do, then you don't want your life insurance to pour in there. Or if you're close, if you're on the margin, you don't want your life insurance to pour in there and tip you over. If you were close, we would plan as if you already were there, because assets grow because of the potential, because you don't want to pay 40% death taxes and whatnot. So
I wanted to
Can you
ask.
drop your contact information in the chat too?
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask one question so that everybody could know. What? Dang it, that's the ADHD in me. I'm gonna be back.
He's so funny.
Can I type my own
It
name?
it just went out the window. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I'm just like, ooh. What was we talking about before that?
And about trust.
We were talking about the trust.
Pension accounts, 401ks, 403.
Oh, the taxes. Yeah. Yeah.
Tax liability. Yes.
Yes, the tax liability. And I know we were talking about all of the things to put in a trust. Again, I did death benefits. So if somebody's a beneficiary in life insurance and stuff like that, that stuff is easy, right? So you want to definitely trust. People don't know that you can buy a house in a trust. So if you go out and you buy your property, you can tell at closing, hey, we're putting this in a trust.
Now, one of the things, yeah, you can do that. One of the things that I've started recommending, I haven't always done this my whole career and I've had real estate, investment real estate, and after I've closed, I've transferred it into the trust and, blah, blah, blah. Now, I recommend that clients, if your investment real estate or your house has a mortgage on it, every mortgage financing document that I've ever seen has a clause in there that you cannot transfer the title to this property, or they can call the loan. They can just call the whole thing due. And so I'm much more careful now because I've heard of a couple. I haven't had any clients who've experienced this, but better safe than sorry, because most lenders will let you do it. You go get permission from the lenders. I'm putting this in my trust for estate planning purposes. And will you permit me to do this without calling the loan or having any negative consequences? And I've not seen a lender turn that down. But as long as they sign off on it, then you don't have to worry about that loan call provision. So before we would transfer, again, I used to just roll the deed. I did my own investment properties, but I wouldn't do that today. I would go get permission from the lender first. So I would help with that letter with clients and whatnot. So I think that that's one caveat, not a caveat,
Oh,
but
that's what I was going to say. The ADHD is back. A lot of us in the very beginning, Tracy said that a lot of us think that we don't have assets to protect. A lot of us think, oh, I got, $100 in the bank. I ain't got no money. But if you own a house, that's your net worth. What is your house worth? You do have assets to protect. You should be wanting to protect your net worth. So when she said, oh, you might be tipped over to that 14 million, a lot of people think assets is the money. That's not the asset.
it's everything together. You're welcome, Pearl, and thank you. Tisha, you're a caregiver, you're a POA, medical proxy. You want to apply for Social Security if she's in a facility. Yeah, so that would be elder care planning, which is a very specialized area of estate planning. I don't do that, but I can tell you a little bit about it. So depending on her income, if she's Medicare doesn't pay for long-term care. So she wouldn't be covered by Medicare now if she's been in there more than a couple of weeks. So then Medicaid pays for it. So you're either self-pay or Medicaid is paying for it. And if you're self-pay and you have the ability to pay for your own in-home nursing care, Medicaid expects you to do that. Okay. And if you own a house, though, that's not liquid, it's not if it's not liquid, houses are not liquid, and Medicaid doesn't make you go get a mortgage on it or take out another loan to pay. But there is a 5-year look back period. So if you try to get the house out of your name, let's say you deed it to your kids or your brother or whomever to get it out of your name so you can go into a facility to avoid Medicaid trying to take your house, they've got a 5-year look back period. And any transfers that are done within 5 years of applying for Medicaid, they're going to look at very suspiciously. And so she's zero income Medicaid recipient, no assets. They're going to take, can they take Social Security? I don't know if they can take Social Security. Income, yes, because they can take pension money. Yes, they can take pension money. Yes, you are expected to pay for your own care. So any assets you have, including Social Security, Medicaid will want her to use that for her own care. Is there a chance, Tisha, that she's coming out of the facility and will ever live independently again, or even with someone? Yeah. So what is the thought about holding on to delaying applying for Social Security? They will take, I mean, she will have to forfeit it, but if you're not going to ever claim it for her, she's essentially forfeiting it as well. So she'll have to forfeit it up to the amount of, and it sounds like that'd be 100%. It sounds like I'm inferring some things here, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, that her Social Security would probably be relatively low and would be less than the cost of a Medicaid facility, or less than the cost of a facility that she's staying in. And therefore, Medicaid would still be paying out of pocket. So they would require her to reimburse them. No pressure, Marquetta. Get her a house in Florida. Get Tisha a house in
I
Florida.
see, I see.
Does that answer your question, Tisha? You're welcome. Any other questions that I can answer?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So as far as setting up a trust, is that something you recommend planning with someone like yourself, or is it possible for someone to do it on their own?
As an attorney, folks.
Right, I am an attorney, but I'm always really careful not to be like, oh, you have to. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be at my sister's house right now. Just 1 minute.
Oh, no worries.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So I'm really careful to not say, oh no, only an attorney can do it. And specifically, I'm the best one to do it. There, legal Zoom, wills and trusts. I don't think that a layperson can probably sit down and chat GPT.
Oh, no, 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 no.
But I don't think a layperson can sit down and create their own trust. But plenty of people, wills and trusts, legal Zoom, all of that stuff, do it off there. What I will tell you is that I do make money in correcting those things after something,
Okay.
because you cannot, it's not possible for and I'm fully aware that AI is going to replace what I do, because AI is going to get better and better and better and whatnot. And so I'm already working on like what's my evolution, and so it's not ready for prime time yet, but I'm already working on like, hey, how am I going to be able to help clients if they can essentially go to, it might not be chat
Yeah,
GPT.
I personally am anti-AI.
So a lot of people
I
are.
would rather pay a
My best
lawyer.
friend is, she was like, that's going to be that's the death of society. I will never participate in that. But to answer your question, yes, could you get on wills and trusts and answer their things and pop out a trust? Yes, you can. You get it notarized. It's as legal as anything else. What I bring is that I know the specific questions to ask you. I learn about your family. I learn about your goals. I learn about your situations. I also insert myself into even who you're picking as your fiduciaries. Who is going to be the executor of your will? Who's going to be, because even with the trust, you have a will. It's a pour over will, but it needs an executor. It could be the trustee. It could be somebody different, probably the trustee. Who's going to be the trustee? Now, why did you pick that person? We talk about it so that I make sure that you've got strong fiduciaries who are gonna, and they get a letter from me. Whoever you pick as your trustee gets a letter from me saying, hey, you've been selected to be the trustee of Monique's trust, and here are the duties, so that they don't, here's what you will be expected to do. Here's what you're called upon to do, et cetera, et cetera. And they are welcome to call me. If you became incapacitated or were to pass away, your trustee, your family, is welcome to call me to get help in carrying out those duties and whatnot. But that's what I bring, is not a one size fits all, but the personalized, knowing you personally, getting to know your, not actually getting to know everybody in your family personally, but I'm asking the questions to get to know your family situation so that I can recommend the twists and turns and the things that what I want is for you to have an estate plan that works when you need it. And so let me give you an example. I have some family members, some cousins of mine. There are 3 of them. Their dad died a long time ago, but their mom just died at the end of January, and she had done a will. She had a will off the internet, and it's not great. It wasn't great, and as a result, the 3 siblings are fighting in probate court and are speaking to each other. It's and that is like I can't guarantee that one of your a kid doesn't wig out and just decide to go rogue on the family, but I start the planning with, in my head, my job is to keep this family out of court and out of conflict, and mainly out of conflict and only out of court because of the expense of it. But the estate, she only had about $140,000 left, and they're going right through it, fighting over
with the prolonged court battle.
With prolonged, they're in North Carolina. So yeah, with the prolonged court proceeding and just eating up fees and blaming each other as to why they felt they couldn't work this out or whatever. It's a mess, and especially
that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, so my goal is to prevent that, right? And I always recommend also to clients, don't surprise your kids. Now clients don't always take me up on that because they're like, listen, I don't want to deal with that right now. When I'm dead and gone, I won't know that they're fighting.
Oh, no.
But I tend to advise people, don't surprise your kids. And in fact, you want to let everybody know while you're living, this is what I chose. This is what I chose to do, why I chose to do it. One final thing that I do is, one way to pass on the legacy for grandchildren that don't know you yet or are too young, that will have forgotten you if you were to pass away. I have 3 grandchildren, and my youngest one is only 3. There's a 12-year-old, he's almost 13. There's a 7-year-old, and then the 3-year-old. If I were to die today, my 3-year-old knows me now, but he won't remember Gracie. He won't remember. My kids call me Gracie. My grandkids call me Gracie for Grandma Tracy, because I was like, no grandma, no big mama, no.
I love that.
So they call me Gracie. But anyway, that 3-year-old will likely not remember my voice. He won't remember what I tried to teach him. So I do what I call a legacy love letter, because if you think the estate plan has the last love letter,
that's beautiful,
that you can leave. So this legacy love letter is a recording in addition to the documents. That's estate plan is a love letter, but this is the last love letter you can leave. If clients choose, you get to record. Either I can interview you and ask the questions, or I give you a list of, there are probably 20, 30 questions on there. Beautiful. You pick the questions, that you want to say to your kids. Remember that these were my values. Remember the things that I've tried to teach you. I hope this, that, and the other for you. Remember that time we went to Disney World and I spilt the Coke all over myself, and whatever fun things.
Yeah.
What I want you to remember about me, what I want you to know, how much I love you, what I want you values. And so you have that recording, you get it on a jump drive, and you also get it as a file that is emailed, and it will be with your documents. Some people share it with their families right up front. Some people leave it as a surprise for their families to find afterwards. But it's a way for your legacy to continue to live in your family for those that come later or will not remember you.
That's beautiful. Well, unfortunately, I don't live in either of the states you work in, but
what state do you live in?
I'm in Nevada.
Nevada. Okay. Well, I
can help in all 50 states, you guys.
I will definitely take your advice to get an attorney to make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. I am a one and done as far as the family goes, but she gets everything.
She gets everything.
There's nobody else getting not a thing.
Yeah, everything. That's beautiful. All right.
Thank you.
You all are very
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
all.
Me. I know I called you last minute, but thank you so much.
That's okay. I am happy. I love talking about this stuff. It is my ministry and passion. So
Yes, it's so important. So please drop your contact information in the chat so everybody can have it, or send to me and I will make sure everybody has it. I mean, I got your number, but you know, the other stuff. Um,
I'll put it in there again. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. How was that, you guys? I mean, we about to start talking about how to, gather some
Amazing.
That was amazing. I learned so
Amazing.
much that I had never heard before. Much appreciated. You know, like many people who are approaching middle age, I'm thinking about these things, haven't
Yeah,
done it yet. I didn't know there was a difference between the two. I appreciate knowing this and knowing how to move forward and protect everything for my baby in the future.
yeah. And I'm just tell y'all like a 30-second story. I got a call last March from a family for, it was a probate case, and the brother died and he left a will. And one brother says they changed the will, and then the other brother says they changed the will. And one of the brothers is actually living in the house. He took care of the brother whose house it is. He took care of the brother whose house it is. He helped him pay bills in his last years. He was there. He was like, the other brother wasn't there. And now the wife came in and she's like, and they're all arguing. So this brother's not talking to that brother. They've called the police. They got all of it. It's 8 heirs. Mind you, this house is not, it's not in great condition. Okay. It's 8 heirs. One brother has spent over 20 grand because they just know they're gonna make so much money when his house sells. I walked away from the deal because there was no, they wanted to sell it for way more than it was actually worth, but the fighting was so bad, it triggered me back to when I did death benefits. And I can't, like, don't do that to your families if you don't have to. If you can protect your families, please protect your family. I think it's really important if you can protect your family and get a will and a trust that you do that. And a lot of us don't. And a lot of us think, oh, I'm gonna get a will, but that will still has to be probated. So please, 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 if you have assets, if you have a house, if you have anything like that, money does bring out the crazy. Listen, I tell my kids our plan. My kids know if something's happened to us, they're to make 3 phone calls of people in the state of Georgia. They know the order in which they are to make those phone calls. They are then to turn their phones off and wait for the people in Georgia to come get them. Because I know, even though I have told my mom and I have told this person and that person, I know that even though I've told so many people um, what what's to happen with my children and who has custody of my kids, and it's all written out, that don't stop people from being crazy. Yeah, if something happens to me in front of my family, it's not even to be told until 48 hours. If my children are underage, they are to give my best friend time to get here from Hawaii to come get my children. You're not gonna argue with my kids, especially when I know y'all gonna be arguing because they gonna automatically become millionaires. You're not gonna be arguing over my millionaires, okay? Um, I also did some other things, some other layers of protection on my life insurance. My husband is my main beneficiary, and then if something happens to me and him, then my best friend is my next beneficiary. When Leilani turns 18, I will take my best friend off and replace her with Leilani. A lot of us put our children as our beneficiaries. This is me because I was in death benefits. A lot of us put our children as our beneficiaries, but those children, you have to go and probate that beneficiary and make yourself eligible to have access to that money, or that money sits there until they're 18 or whatever. And then the other part about a trust is I have in mind that Leilani can have access to our money at 18, but Lucas has to wait to 21. Yeah. So that's how I have it. So Lucas has to actually wait till 21. So that stuff is so very important. I hope that y'all learned a lot from that. Take it in, understand it. Now let's talk about how to get some assets, some more assets if you don't have any, that we need to protect. Okay.
Can
And
I
that's
ask you a question about real estate?
yes. Yes, please ask me.
Okay, if a, the, say a couple has a house, but the house, the mortgage is in the husband's name, but not the wife's name, how can the wife be protected if something
Um,
happened to the husband?
did they buy the house while they were married?
Yes, they bought the house, but
So
the
anything
husband's,
that
only the husband's name was on the
doesn't
mortgage.
matter. Anything you buy while you're married belongs to the marriage.
Okay, okay, and the house
So
is paid for.
yeah, anything you bought during the marriage belongs to the marriage.
Okay,
Um, Georgia's not a community property state. So if they had bought it, if he had bought that house prior to and he willed that house to somebody else, then she would have no way, no nothing to stand on. But because because he has a because they were married when they bought the house, she automatically is entitled. Now, my husband, I'm talking about my husband. When we bought our house, it was only his name on it because his name was on the mortgage. So it's just in his name. 30 days after we bought our house, he said, "Come on." I said, "Where are we going?" He took me back down to our closing attorney's office and said, "Add her to the deed. I don't care what it costs." I was fine because I knew we had bought the house there, but he wanted to make sure my name was on it. So you can go and have her name added to the deed. You can go to the courthouse. You can get an attorney. A lot of attorneys do it for pretty cheap. So that's another option that you have. Yeah,
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. But she's fine long as they bought it while they were together. I wouldn't be concerned. I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna get back into this. Look at me, Anisha, doing it all by myself.
I'm
Anisha,
so proud of you.
Anisha that I talk about all the time, and I'll be like, "Why Anisha not here? I don't know how to do this stuff."
Oh, you be in spaces talking about me?
Nah, y'all ain't never seen nothing about Anisha, right?
Lord Jesus.
It's like then I don't know why she left me to my own devices.
Because I believe in you.
All right, I said this once, I'll say it again. I said this once, said it twice, I'm gonna say it 3 times. This is not a financial seminar, it's a wake-up call. Surviving isn't living and building wealth isn't optional. It is survival 2.0. This blueprint is one that I made for my own family. I'm sharing it so that you can make it for yours. With everything that's going on right now in the world, everything that's going on in the government, student loans being, they said the moment you walk through that door, the interest starting on student loans immediately. Okay, there's no more holding it off. You gotta work a full-time job and have 15 credit hours to apply to get a Pell Grant. I don't know about y'all. My baby's going to medical school. There is no way she's jumping through those kinds of hoops. So she needs to go to school. First of all, the military can pay for 4 years, but when the military done, I still got to pay for medical school. Personally, I got to pay for medical school. I've always said I'm going to just go sell something. I want y'all to say, everybody say it with me, come off mute and say, go sell something. Sell something. Y'all know what the mute button is.
Sell something.
Go sell
Sell
something.
something.
Go sell something.
Sell something. That's right. That's how it works. Sell it, lease it, whatever, leverage it, whatever I gotta do. But I ain't gonna have to go on a corner. I'll tell you that. So the wellness wheel, physical wellness, that's important. Psychological wellness, mental health, that's important. Emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, personal and professional wellness, those things are all important. We talked about Maslow's law. I'm not gonna get on my soapbox about that. The 4-part survival financial blueprint we've covered this week. We talked about securing the bags, stabilizing the home, multiplying the income, side hustles, all of those things. And now we're going to talk about protecting. We already talked about protecting the legacy, wills, insurance, structure. What you should build should last beyond you. Here's one more tip about the homes because it's not in here. Here's one more tip. I have insurance on my house. My house has its own insurance policy. it's a medical policy on the person, but what happens is something happens to me, they'll pay off, that policy will pay off my house so that my family's not left with a mortgage. Okay. So in addition to getting a will and a trust, that's something else. The asset protection insurance plan is also very important. It's so cheap, y'all. I pay like $15 a month. Yeah, I can afford $15 a month right? Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anisha, I'm not looking at the comments, so if you've been there, help me
I, I,
out.
fig- I, I figured you weren't.
Yeah, once I saw you was
Also,
here.
also get insurance outside of your job insurance.
Yes, that's important. Life
Someone
insurance.
and then someone would like to know because I'm about to mess up her name, Tamika. I hope Tomika.
Mhm.
I hope. She said she wants to know what's the name of that policy that you have that will pay off the house.
I will get you. I will get you the name of it. I don't want to mess it up.
Okay, and I'll take note that she would like the name of that policy. Okay, we'll make sure we get it to put it out there.
Sorry. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? It refers to assets that are intentionally passed from one generation to the next. Common forms of generational wealth: cash, savings, and investment accounts, real estate and property, stocks, retirement funds, life insurance, education, and financial literacy. That's the part I really want to like stand on a soapbox about. Our kids only know as much as we teach them, right? I know a lot of people on the call really get into financial literacy and things like that. But our kids only know about as much as we teach them. Are you having family meetings? Are you telling your kids how to pay your mortgage? Are you telling your kids how much money's in the account? Do you have family business meetings? I recommend them once a week. I know some people do them once a month. I even make my whole family have a family business meeting now. They fuss about it, but they get in there because they need to know, hey, what's going on with the family? Does anybody in the family need help? Is anybody in the family struggling? What's going on? Because if we're going to break generational curses, then we have to make sure we're communicating. That's the only way. We were taught to hide these things in shame, to bury ourselves under credit card debt, and not tell anybody that it's time out for that. We're not going to live. We're not trying to survive. We're trying to live. So we've got to start teaching our children about financial literacy. One of the books that I bought my children was, um, is it Think Rich, Grow Rich? Anisha, help me. You know, I'm gonna find the book for y'all. I'll send
Think
y'all.
and Go Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Yes, they have one for
Yeah.
teenagers. They have one for teenagers. They have one for children. Lucas had a financial literacy book when he was 2 years old. Probably why he likes money so much. Lucas knows how to. I could have my son teach y'all a stock market class. That's how Lucas handles our stocks and investments. That's his job in the family. That's his job in my family. So my dad called like, hey, let me speak to Lucas. I got a question about a stock. Lucas is 11, by the way, in case y'all don't know my kid. My 11-year-old handles my stock portfolio for my mortgage, because I'm in mortgages, so they give you one. My stock portfolio for one of the companies that I'm in. He tells us which stocks to buy, which ones to dump. Everybody asks me who my stockbroker is. It's my 11-year-old. It is. He'll consult. He sure will. But Lucas is, y'all know Lucas. Marquetta be free, but Lucas is not me. Lucas is a Capricorn. He believe in getting his change. Okay. Um, he do not play about that. He charged me. Why it matters. Again, I just told y'all, break cycles of poverty. One decision today can shift the financial trajectory of the entire family line. open access to opportunity. Wealth creates access, college tuition, home ownership, business funding, and more. One thing that and it really rested upon me, right? I grew up very poor. I grew up in the projects in Southeast DC, and the things that I was sitting talking to Vernon 2 nights ago, and I said, "Oh, I really need to get Leilani a tutor. He's only 200 an hour. That's not bad." And I'm sitting here, and I was like, "Who said that?" You know, I did a TikTok trend. Who said that? Like, you know what I mean? I homeschool, but homeschooling is expensive. Going to school is expensive. Making sure your children are elite is expensive. It's not free. So when we say, "Oh, well, why didn't so and so?" Well, they didn't have access to the capital that you had access to. So of course they couldn't. So those that like that completely, like me saying that shifted my whole mind 2 days ago. And I was like, whoa, that's not bad. That's 1,000. I was like, well, yeah. Now if I had heard me say that 8 years ago, I'd be like, who said that? Yeah. So I mean, but those like having stuff that you can pull from really does help you launch. Now I can see that I'm gonna have a doctor. Now I can see that my baby's gonna be a lawyer. Now that I can see that because we've poured into them and been able to financially pour into them. Tamika, how much you get paid for your baby, poured into your baby? Yep, tell me what your daughter's doing.
So
I'm
my
picking.
daughter is in aviation, right? So she wants to be a commercial pilot and eventually one day run an airport. My daughter needs 1,500 flight hours in order to be a commercial pilot. The first 70 of those flight hours are $200 a flight hour. The remainder of those flight hours are $600 an hour. Okay. They want you to have your baby in an airplane at least 2 days a week. That is just that. So I gotta go get
At $600. Tamika might have to what? Sell something. I'm just saying. So it's expensive. That's how we shift the next generation, and it costs money to shift them, especially when we started from so far behind. So I'm gonna get off that soapbox. And we already went over trust, wills, and accounts, so I'm gonna skip right on over that part. Avoid probate, people. That's the one thing you should know. Real estate and rental income. Now we're gonna talk about the stuff I love. Real estate is one of the most powerful tools for building generational wealth. It just is. If you name one, who's one person that you like got so much money?
You.
Anisha. Look,
Me.
Anisha.
Tyler
Look, I'm gonna say
Perry.
myself.
I'm
gonna
talking
say
about
myself,
people I
Anisha.
actually know, not like celebrities. I don't think
Look,
I personally know anybody else who's more set and secure than y'all.
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and speak into existence myself.
I bought me a shirt
Say
today.
it. You better say it.
Yeah, speak things that aren't as though they are. Okay, don't make me. Listen.
Listen,
Okay, Deacon's wife, calm down.
Somebody said her
So
grandpa.
I said that grandpa, amen. Come on, granddaddy. That's what I'm saying. I say that to say one McDonald's is how far from another McDonald's?
3, 4 miles.
just couple of blocks. You talking about how far apart they are? Couple of blocks.
Okay, Anisha, don't answer this because you're in real estate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anybody know why there's so many McDonald's? You think they just want to sling them burgers?
It's so
No, it's
everybody
for
knows
property.
they're always available.
Nah.
No, they're in real estate.
Thank
I know
you.
that they're in real
Ding,
estate.
ding, ding, ding. McDonald's is a real estate investor. Walmart, real estate investor. Chick-fil-A, real estate investor. They all own the what? The
Property
building.
and property.
CVS don't own nothing. They rent their stuff. Walgreens rents. Target
Right
rents.
Rite Aid used to rent.
Rent.
That's why they no longer around.
When y'all go inside Walmart, y'all see who in there. Y'all see Subway and a barbershop and a nail.
Yeah.
Because they're real estate investors who do commercial real estate. They don't care nothing about that $2.99 stuff y'all buying. Those are pennies. They don't care nothing about that stuff.
What
When
about
you go-
Sears?
Huh?
Sears, I think, is a financial thing.
Yeah, they went bankrupt.
Or,
They were
huh?
also renting.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the post office rents.
Oh, the post office does rent. They rent from the government.
Mhm.
And the government takes all of Vernon. If Vernon heard what I was saying, he'd run up here and get on his soapbox about it because he used to work for the post office. The post office is actually profitable, the most profitable thing that we have in the United States.
They call it quasi-government agency.
Nobody who makes more money than the post office. And you know what happens at the end of every year, every fiscal year? They say, all right, post office, what did you make?
They raise their prices.
No, they ain't raising their prices because they need it. They raised their prices. See, Vernon heard me talk about the post office. They raised their because yeah, here you go at the door, Deisha. They raised their prices because the government eats off the post office. All of the money the post office don't use on their own budget, the government takes at the end of every fiscal year.
Everything above their operating expenses gets handed over to the.
They can't hear you, baby. You gotta speak louder.
Everything above the post office's operating expenses get handed over to the executive branch. The post office is the only government entity that actually supports their own finances. Nothing that we make in the post office comes from taxes. No, the only thing you do to support the post office is buy stamps and mail letters. Other than that, I've had plenty of people say, "Oh, well, no, I pay my taxes, so you have to listen." No, the taxes mean nothing to me. They're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
y'all
round him up.
they're like, I pay your salary. You do not pay the post office salary, baby. If anything, the post office paying for y'all.
Think about that.
But they do rent. They rent the buildings. A lot of government buildings rent property. That's why I said Walmart and McDonald's, because they're the biggest real estate investors. Believe it or not. In the commercial real estate space. They own everything. There's not a build, they don't rent anything. Chick-fil-A owns their buildings as well. If you want to own a Chick-fil-A's business model is so gangster. If you want to own a Chick-fil-A, you will never truly own a Chick-fil-A. You cannot will a Chick-fil-A. Your family can never. This is the only reason Vernon didn't buy one, because he was gonna buy one. He was in line to buy one. You can never give it to your children. It belongs to Dan Cathy's family. You're a glorified general manager. They share 50% of the profits with you, and you pay 50% of the expenses.
And you cannot work.
And you cannot work any other job. You can only own up to 2. You cannot own any other businesses.
What?
Nope, you cannot own any other businesses, and if you have your family into it, they cannot own any other business. When I tell you they do because my father-in-law, he was going after it. He got to the last bit of it, and they wanted him to retire. He wasn't quite ready for retirement, so he passed on. But you can't have any conflict of interest whatsoever. It's like working for the IRS. When they want you to focus on their business only. They do not want any excuses of why you cannot be in that building when they want you in that building. Nope. They don't want you put on blinders like the horses have on.
Yep. So they're all of those are real estate companies, real estate investors. A lot of people you can go and buy the building that CVS is in. There was actually are really good things, real estates to buy. Why? Because a lot of those have that building for like 50-year leases, 100-year leases. Like you're gonna get paid, unless that company goes bankrupt. A lot of people don't hold the asset because they don't want the responsibility of holding the asset. But a lot of them do hold the asset. They own their real estate. Okay. Have y'all ever y'all very rarely see a Walmart go bankrupt. And it ain't because who else owns their real estate? Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's owns everything in their store. So there's not anything or anyone, no matter how wealthy you are, real estate is the biggest way to hide some money. Real estate is the biggest way, and not hide it like embezzlement, but it's a big tax write-off. So a lot of people buy properties just so they can write off the taxes and the depreciation. And now we're going to get into, in the big beautiful bill, they have 100% depreciation. What does that 100% depreciation mean to Marquetta? Baby,
Money.
I'm about to buy your house, your house, your house, your house, your house, your house. Who, you got a house? You ain't buy that house? Come here. I buy it. Me. 100% depreciation for the next 5 years. That's printing money. That's free. Might as well take it. You be able to write off 100% depreciation on your taxes. That's crazy. If you make a significant amount of money, you need to own property, period. You make over 6 figures, you better own property, or you paying crazy amounts of taxes if you don't. Okay. Types of real estate investments. You got single families, you got your multi-properties, your short-term rentals. My favorite is actually that mid-term rental. If y'all don't remember anything else I say today, remember mid-term rental. Short-term rentals are Airbnbs, okay? Mid-term rentals. Mid-term rentals is anything over 30 days, but less than 12 months. So I'm a big fan now of mid-term rentals. If you're going to be an investor, I'm telling everybody, don't go this short-term rental Airbnb route. Can I be a mid-term rental or Airbnb? You can. That means you say the minimum stay in my property is 30 days. Okay? You can absolutely do that. The minimum stay is 30 days. Can I own property in short-term, mid-term rental? Why? You've got a lot of people who relocation companies. Their people need somewhere to stay really quickly when they get in town. They pay. You've got your yes, Monique.
So for midterm, you said that's at least a month, but less than a year. Was that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
A year is a long-term rental. So if you got your short-term, your mid-term, your long-term. Anything over 12 months and beyond is long-term. Anything under 12 months, but more than 30 days is a mid-term. So mid-term is becoming very popular now. You've got people who are just like, I'm just in between places. Guess what you charge on a mid-term? You charge more. You charge more. If my long-term rents for 3,000, my midterm rents for 5,000. Why? I have less money coming in. I'm not guaranteed to get this money for 12 months. So I'm taking such a risk, letting you be here for less than 12 months when I could have had a long-term renter for 12 months and got consistent money. Your insurance companies, where all of these disasters going on and all of those things, like all of the disasters going on, like I know everybody saw the tornado that was here. Those people, while their house is being rebuilt, they have to have a midterm rental. They need somewhere to stay for 9 months. They don't need a year. They need 9 months. I'm going to tell you right now, I know an insurance company that paid a client. She had to find somewhere to go. She only had a 3-bedroom house. They paid $6,000 a month for her rental that she went to. $6,000 a month was the max that she could go. Again, because it's short term. Yes, Ms. Pearl, travel medical professionals is a niche market for midterm rentals. It is becoming very popular, especially with our travel nurses and things like that. I'm going to tell you guys about my favorite short-term rental property. I swear if it starts getting oversaturated, I'm going to be so mad because I use it myself because I'm a traveling professional. It's furnishedfinders.com. If Anisha can put that in the chat, finders.com. It is my favorite short-term rental. If you're wanting to have a platform, unlike Airbnb, they don't charge you any fees. You pay $99 one time to be on their platform, and that's it. So I love it. Cash flow, monthly income after expenses. You're going to get good cash flow. Vernon just took a phone call from one of our clients who just bought a full-on Airbnb, fully furnished, the whole nine. Hold on. Fully furnished, the whole nine.
You
And
want to, you said furnished
furnished
finders.com? That one?
finders, yes.
Okay, I'm typing.
So he just bought it. He just bought an Airbnb, $412,000. I'll tell you the price. Anisha, don't tell nobody. $412,000 in East Point. This Airbnb was already very profitable. So he just bought the entire business when he bought the house. Okay.
And don't forget, Airbnb now has it to where you can turn over to a new owner. So it's turnkey, ready to go.
Yep. So that's what we're doing. And we actually put in our purchase and sale agreement that when I'm not the agent, I'm just a loan officer. But they put in a purchase and sale agreement that they had to turn over all financials and everything for the Airbnb, including in their furniture. Okay. And sellers giving up everything right now. They ain't in a position to argue too much. Some of them still think they are, but they aren't. And then we got into short-term rentals, Airbnbs, hostels, all those things. So I mean, just keep going. All right, teaching legacy, early financial literacy for teens. I already went over this a little bit. Allowance, practice ground. Vernon gives his kids allowance. But he does not pay them for cleaning their room. He said that is their house. They're if they go to a job, their job is not paying them to keep their house. If they don't do their chores, they don't do the things like clean the bathroom. Well, he doesn't pay them for cleaning their bathroom because that's their stuff. But washing the dishes, making sure the living room's clean, all of those things, then yeah, nah, he ain't gonna do that either. So, and he says, hey, either y'all pay it or I just deduct it out your bank account. So, teach them financial literacy early so they can be adults who know how to pay bills. Even though I don't know if there's any hope for Leilani, she likes to shop too much. Lucas
She
learns
get
stocks.
from her mama.
I don't even. Never mind. Lucas learned how to do stocks on investopedia.com, by the way. Okay. Investopedia.com if anybody wanted to learn. And it'll teach you how to do it, but it's also a really great tool for children. And he learned that with Kappa League. So he handles all of our stuff now. Okay. I'm gonna hurry up and get out of here because we're supposed to be done. So I apologize. Passive income, making money while you sleep. This is my favorite. I love making money while I sleep. Dividends from stocks, always a good one. If you have 401ks, anything like that, even though those have become very volatile lately, it just depends. Rental property income, we just talked about that. DSCR loans, anybody in here already own a property? Just raise your hand if you're already a homeowner, because I want to go over something.
Yes, homeowner and on land.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Yes, all right. Come on,
Yes,
homeowner.
you got a bunch of yes.
Yes, come on, homeowners. I love a homeowner. All right, here's
And you
why.
said Investopedia
Yes,
for
investopedia.com. If you own a house, you can buy a property. Now you need 20% down, but here's why I say if you own a house, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can get what we call a DSCR loan. Our DSCR loan says I can do as little as 15% down. A lot of people require 20%. I can do 15% personally if you call Marquetta to help you do your DSCR loan. The DSCR loan is a rental loan where you say, Mr. Bank, Mr. and Mrs. Loan Officer Bank Person, I'm going to buy this property with the purpose of renting it out. You don't have to show your income, your assets. You don't have to show your job, none of that. All you have to show is I've got at least a 640 credit score and I have 15%. I have 20% down. If you got over 740, you only need 15% down. By the way, I want to make sure I got that right. Yeah, 740, it's 15% down. Anything over 720 is 15% down. You actually only need a 620, that's at 70% down. I don't recommend putting 30% down on the property if you don't have to. So I always say get it up to at least a 680. So you only have to put 20% down. But 15% down is even better because that 5%, you can take that and do something else with it. Oh my God, Marquita, how am I going to come up with 20%, 15%? There are so many ways if you already own a property. This is why buying houses is so important. If you don't already own a property, there are other ways to go out there and make that money. But that's one of the ways that people, buy property. In DSCR, it says you can buy up to 4 properties per house. So I own 1 house. I can go out and buy 4 investment properties as long as I have that money. And I'm going to get that money if I need it by going to take a HELOC out of my personal home and take that HELOC out of my personal home and say, hey, I need this loan for something. Why I prefer a HELOC over a refinance is that it's not going to change my interest rate. In addition to it not changing my interest rate, that HELOC is going to be there. Say they say, hey, yes, Marquita, we approve you for $150,000 out of that $300,000 equity you got. You can have $150,000 of it. Most HELOCs go up to 80 to 90%. Just loan LTV, that's loan to value. Just if anybody needs to know more about what loan to value is, just let me know. But the LTV on the loan, so they usually go up to 80% of what the house is worth, right? So if the house is worth 300,000, they'll give you 80% of that, minus any mortgages that you owe. Okay. So I say, hey, they say I'm gonna give you 150,000. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I don't have to use that 150,000. I can go in and say, okay, I only need 30. Then I only owe 30,000, but I still have the rest of that 150,000 sitting there if I need it. Does that make sense? It's like the HELOC is like one big bank account that you can go and draw from, and the interest rate is better than if you go get a personal loan. Yes, I would recommend it over taking a loan out on the house. And we can explore those options and see which one is better. Yeah. Just because, and the only reason is when you refinance, they take all this money. You took it. I need you to pay me this money back. But with a HELOC, it's like, okay, well, you gave me 50, but I only took 25. They're like, yeah, just pay me back 25. You know what I mean? So
Think of it as a account that you have access to, that you only, whatever you use, that's what you pay back.
Yep.
Everything else is just sitting there waiting on you.
So I know a few people who've taken out a HELOC. I know someone who took out about 150,000 and her payments was like 275. I mean, they were so low, it didn't make sense not to. Okay. Creating a family business is a powerful way to build wealth, teach responsibility, and keep your legacy thriving. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I actually help families create businesses that work for them. My family, and I do that because business is how my family is able to live free. If anybody wants to, do a consultation with me, I will make sure before we get out of here that I drop my calendar in the chat. I do not charge for my consultations. I do help families and I coach them along on how to start a business, that makes sense for them. A lot of times we'll go out there and say, oh, they got in the truck driving, I'm gonna do that. And that's not really something that you want to do. That's not aligned with you or your family. And it doesn't really work with your schedules. So I do help families to figure out what business works best for them within their budget. And I have a number of businesses that you don't need money to start at all. So yeah. And then you got a lot of companies, like I remember yelling at my best friend one day. I was like, why did you pay for that? And it was a company that charged her like $700 or something to form her LLC. And I'm like, girl, I can tell you how to do that in 30 seconds. So I told her how to do it, so she doesn't do it anymore. But yeah, that's one of the things. Okay, Ebony, you're right. We do got a call. Action step. This is something, just something quick that you guys can do. Start with a simple business plan and a budget of 100 to 300 to test your idea. Focus on learning and growing together as a family. Again, I'm happy to do that consultation with you or with the family, whoever, because that's what I do and that's what I've done for my family. I'm literally starting a business for my mother right now. She told me about this business idea she wanted to do a few years ago. She didn't do anything with it. I called her 2 days ago and was like, hey, remember that business idea you wanted to do? Well, I already started it in Maryland. I got all these people. I'm about to get this done. I'm gonna get the license in Georgia, all of this stuff. I need you to be ready in the next 60 days. Because sometimes you got to be the one to say, I'm not, maybe somebody's got a good idea and they didn't execute it. Sometimes you got to be the one to say, all right, give me this ball. I'm going to run it. I'm going to take something off the top when I run it, but it's your business. Case study, real families building legacy. I'm literally like, I got a phone call yesterday from somebody who is trying to do this, the duplex strategy, purchase a duplex, live in the other one. That is the best way if you don't own a property yet. If you're trying to figure it out, I specialize in ADUs, that's accessory dwelling units. I know I touched on it a little bit in the first two classes, but I specialize in ADUs. Basically, buying a property where you have a space that has a separate kitchen, separate entrance, all of those things that you can rent out to build wealth. That is one of the best ways. I have two clients, one in particular who is like my niece. I love her. It's my baby. She bought a house in January in Lithonia, and it already had a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, full kitchen, separate entrance, and she's renting that baby out for $1,750 a month. Y'all want to know what her mortgage is?
What is it?
$2,100.
Woo!
How many of y'all want to pay less than $500 a month for mortgage?
Listen,
I'm asking. I'm just, how many of y'all want to do it?
everybody.
She's straight, long as her tenant pay the rent. Don't bother her. She got her own place upstairs. She got her own kitchen. She got 3 bedrooms up there. She's straight. She got her own backyard. Everybody got their separate space. Guess what? It's her first house, and she's young, under 30. I recommend it.
Go sell something.
Yeah, everybody want a piece of that. That's the one right there. We're gonna skip right on over that. Action plan, review insurance coverage and start quote shopping. If you don't have insurance, you need to have insurance. Open a custodial investment account. Download a will trust template or consult with an attorney. Please, 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 y'all. Contact Tracy. She is amazing. I met her a year ago. I've known her sister for a long time. I love their whole family. They're such sweet people. But you guys really should contact her. She knows a lot about protecting us, and she's very passionate about protecting our community. And you guys should really reach out to her and talk to her and get her to help you in ways that other people just not going to, I've had a lot of people that said, oh, I went over here, but they didn't really put in what I wanted put in. I don't like that. Like, let's work on it. I will put it, it's scrolled up, Tamika.
I'll repost it. Don't worry. I'll repost it.
I appreciate you. All right, so and that's not on here, so I'm gonna close it out. So I sat down about 2 weeks ago and I said, man, I got an idea of how to save families from foreclosure, particularly Black families from foreclosure. And I said, how am I going to do this? And as I was doing it, and I know y'all believe I apologize, but as I was doing it, I actually sat down and figured out how to buy foreclosure properties. And as I was doing it, that's not really who I am. I'm not predatory. I don't like to prey on my people. So I sat down to figure it out. And God said, no, we're going to figure out how to do this ethically. And I said, that's the only way I'm going to do it anyway. And as I was working on it, he gave me 2 things. He said, not only are you going to help people Not only are you going to help people in not only are you going to help save people from foreclosure, but you're going to create investors while you do it. And I said, huh? Well, that ain't what who said that? You know, like I didn't calm down. Like, so I created a whole entire plan, and I'm asking anybody who wants to be a part of it. Start where you are and start with the people that you know and start where what you're doing. This is my first announcement to it. I'm going to make a more formal announcement in a few other spaces later on. And I wanted to tell you all about it. A little bit about my foreclosure rescue plan is that we are going to pay the back due for anyone's foreclosure. My nonprofit is going to, the investor is going to pay to my nonprofit 6 to 12 months of mortgage payments. My nonprofit is going to make 6 to 12 months of mortgage payments on that homeowner's behalf. The homeowner, in turn of that, is going to go through financial literacy classes. We're going to figure out what caused this problem, how can we plug the hole of this problem, and what do we need to do to get their credit to rebound. Most people don't know credit usually only takes about 6 months to a year if you're really, really working on rebounding it, right? What can we do to get their credit to rebound so they can get back to a point where they can take out a HELOC or refinance in order to pay that investor back and get their money back? And get their property back. We're doing 6 to 12 months because people who are doing what they're supposed to in 6 months is you're on the lower end and you don't need as much time, and 12 months meaning you need that time. What happens, Marquetta, if they don't get their stuff together? Well, there's consequences to everything. The bank was going to take your house and you were going to have nothing. But I stepped in and I rescued and I saved it, and I'm not asking a lot of stipulations because my goal is to keep your property in your family, right? So the goal is to keep your property in your family. So if that's the goal and you don't hold up your end of that goal, barring extenuating life circumstances, you know what I mean? Then the bank was going to take your house anyway. At that point, I'm going to pay up, depending on how much equity is in the home. I'm going to pay up a year of mortgage of rent for you to live somewhere else, and I'm going to pay that directly to a rental company or to a person or whoever. And then I'm going to send you on your way. Why is that good? Well, you don't have a foreclosure on your record when you could have had a foreclosure and you could have had to wait 7 to 10 years to buy something else, or 2 years, or however long it takes to rebound your credit. You could have had to figure out where you were going to immediately pick up and take your family and the financial burden of that. And not only am I going to help you move out, I'm going to pay for you to live somewhere else. In the process of that, I'm going to create investors. A lot of us don't have a lot of money to invest. A lot of people are like, where am I going to get 20%? Where am I going to get this? Where am I going to get that? This one is, a lot of these are mortgage takeovers. A lot of people have lower interest mortgage payments right now. And a lot of people are behind. Anybody who bought a house in the last 2 years, I'll say 2023, 2024, and they bought like way higher than they should have. Nobody I sold a house to. I don't play them kind of games. But anybody who bought a house way more than they should have and they lost a job or something happened, we're starting to see a lot of foreclosures. I'm getting a lot of phone calls. As long as they have at least 100,000 to or more of equity in their home, I'm pulling in investors saying, hey, yeah, I'll put that up. Guess what, you guys? I have people waiting to put the money up, and they'll put the money up and put it into whatever LLC I tell them to. They just want to be paid back if the property sells. Did y'all hear me?
Yeah. Are you gonna,
This is amazing.
you gonna, how much does that? I mean, are you able to tell how much you need to be an investor minimum?
It really just depends on the property. So I'm
Okay.
getting a lot of phone calls. Sometimes I'll get a phone call and it'll be 20,000. And you know what I mean? Sometimes I got one phone call and I had to turn him away and I felt so bad. but I got one phone call and he needed 130,000, and I had somebody about to write the check. Here's the thing. I called and said, hey, because I believe in reparations. I don't know about y'all, but all my people that I told y'all this before. And I said, hey, I need you to write this check. And he was like, no problem. Let me run the numbers because he does a lot of investment. Let me run the numbers, make sure this makes sense. Let me go look in the back at the mortgage because we're in mortgages. Let me go see what's going on with this mortgage. He came back and said, Marquetta, it's not enough meat on this bone based on the work that I would have to do in this house for me to put up that money. So we told him another way to save their property. So he got about 3 months to save it now. Or we'll just put it on the market.
Yeah, nobody's out here doing what you're doing, not for our people.
No, I know. And you know what?
Nobody.
You know what I got told one day by
What?
one of my investor. I'm in the rooms with a lot of men that don't look like me, and they love telling me stuff and giving me stuff and asking me, do I need anything, and calling me, Marquita, you okay over there? And one of them said, yeah, I just wait for it to go into foreclosure. Then I call them up, offering them $5,000 for them to move. I buy it for what they owe and take over the mortgage.
That's nasty.
Wow.
But guess what? If you're in a bind and you're in a tough spot and you feel like that's the only option, you're gonna do what? You're gonna take it, yes? It's I was like, whoa, we're not offering them nothing. You know what I mean? We're not even offering a life rehabilitation. Like that was what started me to want to figure out how to do something to help because I saw 3 years ago, next year we're gonna be hurting.
Are you planning on having a time where you give more detail about this?
I
Or you
am.
have
So
to?
I'm having a class, particularly
Okay.
a class specifically about this. Everybody go dinner with some friends, but I'm having a class or a workshop specifically about this. It is going to be in person in Atlanta. If you're not in Atlanta, I am going to do another one online for anybody because this works in any state. If there's anybody in another state and they like, I want to bring this to my state, call me. We'll get on the plane. I'll come and help you set the whole thing up, put some people in the room, get some investors, really tell you how to break this thing down. The whole goal for me is to help maintain and keep wealth within the Black community and keep homes within our communities as best as I can. Um, I tell people all the time, people are like, nobody really just wants to help. And I'm like, I really just want to help you guys. Like, I don't have no ulterior motives. I am who I am. I'm not good at lying, so I don't. If I didn't say it out my mouth, my face gonna say it. You know what I'm saying? Like I might as well just tell the truth. And this is who I am every day. I tell people this is exactly who I am. This is what you see is what you get. So, and I do not have time to swindle people. That seems exhausting. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
So that's it. It seems like it would be crazy to try to get over on people all the time. I don't gatekeep because I'm like, why are you trying to charge me? I'm telling y'all right now, everything that y'all just learned here tonight, somebody's going to would have tried to charge y'all $9.97.
True.
Oh, okay. It's the truth. Everybody got a course now.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody got a course now. But yes, this is something that I am hard launching in the next 60 days. I'm just trying to get my nonprofit set up because a lot of it is underneath my nonprofit, which is the Mabel and Augustus Family First Foundation. That nonprofit, in addition to rescuing people from foreclosure, my nonprofit also helps to serve. My nonprofit is all about everybody being able to live free and everybody being able to live beyond outside of the confines of the system, and all of it is set up that way. So we give money back to homeschool co-ops here. One of those is going to be, we're going to fund anybody that's within one of 3 homeschool co-ops that we support. We're going to pay dues and things like that for families who can't afford it because I keep telling y'all over and over again, homeschool is expensive, and I believe children in Title I and in lower income neighborhoods, they would benefit greatly from it, and their families just can't afford it. So we're going to pay some of those fees for people. That's one thing. And I pay this out of my pocket. I don't go around and ask nobody for donations. Everything that comes through my nonprofit right now at this moment, I don't have any grants. I literally pay it out of my commission check. I just give it freely. I don't want to do everybody asks me what I want to be. I want to be a philanthropist. That is my dream job. I just want to give out money.
You're doing it now. You are.
Thank you, Ms. Pearl.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you
Thank
are. I
you.
mean, it's like, what?
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. So that's one of the things we do. Vernon is starting a life skills class for boys, specifically to teach young boys how to cook and to run a home, because he thinks it's important that they know how to do that and it does not fall on their wives.
Listen, that is community work right there.
Oh,
That
just
is
to tell y'all,
saving
y'all all gotta
future marriages are being saved. Thank you, Vern.
So y'all all got a sneak peek into my nonprofit. I told you about my investment. I'm going to go ahead and throw in here so y'all can have a consultation with me. I love to talk to people, so don't worry about it. Except for Anisha, I don't love to talk to Anisha.
Why? She make you do stuff?
Yeah, Anisha be bossing me.
I do not. I do not. She will call me and be like, hey, remind me of XYZ. And I try to say in the most soft, delicate way, like, hey, remember XYZ. Yeah, it is. Cause I'm like, hey, this is just gentle. Hey.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And she'd be like, get off my phone.
Oh, don't even appreciate Anisha.
Anisha keeps
Not
it
at all.
together. I wouldn't be able to live without her. I'm telling you right now. Somebody asked me to send them. Whoever called me for the Zoom link, I apologize. Let me tell y'all something. If y'all need something from Marquetta, y'all better figure out how to find Anisha's number. I'm gonna put the Fresh Vision number in the chat. Matter of fact, so if y'all need something from me, she can get it from me faster than most.
Wow.
Thank y'all so much. Our friends just called. Apparently, we going to eat crabs or something. I don't know, child. So we about to go. If y'all need me, please hit me up. There's my Google Calendar right there. Go in. It's got all of my appointments. If it's not one on there, click the closest thing to what you want to talk about. I don't know what's on there. I be just putting stuff on there. Just click the strategic business planning or the coaching access and team opportunity. No, just click the strategic business planning and niche, and I don't know what that is. Okay. Okay. Any questions before I get out of here?
What's the phone number again? 993?
Yes, 404-993-1500.
You sure?
I'm positive. I know that number.
Do you have dates for your classes yet?
I do not. I will get that information out. We're working with our marketing department right now.
If y'all text that number that I just posted in there with your name and your email, I will ensure that you get the information that you guys wanted for the insurance and all that stuff.
Thank you. Let me just say something real quick. Miss Marquetta. Oh, she gone? Did she freeze up?
She did freeze up.
She frozen and I took a picture of it.
Anisha, is this your number here?
Am I still frozen?
No, you good now. But I just want to tell you something real quick. A couple of weeks ago, I had saw that you had posted something along the lines of, I don't think what I do is that important. Baby,
I know.
you are over here changing lives, creating wealth for Black families, saving people from foreclosure, educating, also mothering, also nurturing your friends, your family, your husband. You are amazing.
Thank you.
If you saw anybody do what you do, you would be like, they're amazing. Don't be like, oh, it's just what I do. Don't mean nothing because you're doing it. Do not do that.
Get on me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
She all right. She all right.
You are
right home about
that bitch. I'm gonna say it. It's been said. Okay. I want you to walk in your power, your giving heart, your hardworking skills, the babies you are raising. Like, this is
Thank
you're
y'all. I
incredible.
appreciate it. Y'all gonna make me cry.
And
But
listen,
I'm-
I am looking to you because you have children older than me. I am following your example. I want my baby
Thank
to
you.
succeed like I know yours are going to. Let's get into it.
Yes, all our babies,
Thank
you know,
you.
all our babies gonna be because we making ourselves better. So that's already the first thing. So thank y'all so much. I love y'all. Thank y'all. I wanted to tell y'all, thank you so much that I see my baby. I love me some Alicia. She asked me to do this, and I was like, girl, you sure? You don't want to ask somebody else? Who said that? Me? But thank you so much for asking me. I have had such a great time with y'all. I can't wait to get this other information to everyone. I know Alicia has everyone's email, so I'll make sure that y'all are on my email list if you're not. As a gift and a thank you for joining me, I wrote a survival exit blueprint. Um, I wrote a survival exit blueprint, and I just want to hold on.
We are gonna get the recording, right?
Uh, Alicia, they got it. I see my baby. Y'all just shoot them an email. Tell them y'all need it. Okay.
She said yes.
She said
She
yes.
said yes.
Okay.
I think I was on the first one, but I wasn't on the second one.
Okay. So I'm giving this to everyone. By the way, so I will send this to her by tomorrow. She'll have the PDF to email out to y'all. Please don't share with nobody because I actually do charge for this. I don't charge for a lot, but I charge for my creative genius because I'm a writer and I'm sensitive about my so that's something a lot of people don't know that I'm a writer. But this is like a sneak peek, just show y'all. I'm telling y'all way too much about my business in here. So if y'all hate it, don't tell me because I'm really telling y'all my business. But it is a system that I use to get my family out of survival mode. Once you download this, y'all will be the first people in my Freedom Frequency inner circle. It's a private community with all the systems that I'm going to build, my legacy speaks, my talks, and things like that. I have a free community. I also have a paid community because my coach is making me. She's like, girl, at some point you're gonna have to charge something. And I'm like, I don't want to. I've been kicking and screaming about it. I'm telling y'all, real bad. Um, but just for my time, because that's it. But if y'all have anything, y'all need anything, any questions, please call that 404-993-1500. Send a text there. Like, can you get Marquetta? Please go to my go book a consultation. I can't wait to sit down and talk to you and see how I can help you personally. Wealth is personal. Excuse my baby. I don't know who he barking at. Wealth is personal. So I want to get very personal with you guys, and anything that we talk about, I would never repeat. My agents can tell you that for sure. I'm going to get out of here. It has been lovely because I'm getting a phone call. I will talk to you all later.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.